I find that actually, and I can say this for my relationships too, before I met my wife and with now, relationship competence always felt like both people didn't have it. I don't think I was in many relationships where I had it and the person didn't. I actually think for many years, it was just, we both had, like me and the other person, we both had zero relationship competence. Yeah. How do you think people build relationship competence? Because it almost feels like, and you're right, and you know, I know we both agree on this, that you just expect to know how to be in a relationship, and you kind of just, you're almost expected to know that, oh yeah, you start dating and then you know what to do next. And none of us know what to do next or now. Tell us about how you go about building relationship competence, and what are the skills that you kind of break it down into for people to think about that?
Well, firstly, I had very much the same experience as you. I always thought I was such a great guy in relationships. I really did. Like,
same.
I always thought I was so, you know, the line I always used to say about myself is, you know, maybe I wasn't ready, or maybe I wasn't in a place where I wanted the same thing, but I was a great partner while I was in it. It wasn't true.
No.
I was, what's the word? I was a gentleman. I was respectful. In many ways, I've always been kind. That's always been a through line of my life, but you can be kind and dumb.
Yeah.
And you can hurt a lot of people when you're kind and dumb, you know? And so I look back on myself, and sometimes it takes someone who's better than you at a certain part of a relationship, maybe not the whole thing, but they come along and you notice that they, you know, going back to that example, argue differently than you do. You went into fight mode and they went into compassion mode and said, look, babe, I know you feel like this, but here's like the way you're reacting right now, here's how it's making me feel. And you go, oh, that was different. What was that? It's like you learned a new move. What was that move? I haven't seen that one before. I've been in relationships where I say this and then you give me the silent treatment. And then I feel justified in then being mean because you're going silent, and now we amp it up. And now all of a sudden you come across someone who takes you off road. And that's a scary moment. And when someone takes you off road, you have two choices. You can either be afraid of that. And it is something uncomfortable about it because you're not used to it. Even kindness can be uncomfortable if you're not used to it.
Absolutely.
Right. But when someone takes you off road, that really is an opportunity to watch what someone else is doing. I think the same is true in business, right? It's you see someone else who just did a different thing. Like in your industry, someone took a turn that everyone else didn't. And you can either be the person who says, what's that? Why are they doing that? That's stupid. Well, they think that's going to work. Like, or you can go, oh, that's interesting. No one else is doing that. Yeah. Why are they doing that? Let me check that out. Like you could be curious about it, especially if you think, oh, there's something to that, what they're doing.
Yes.
And so I think that the exploring areas where someone isn't doing the same thing as you, and it takes you into a different experience, that's not bad. It's like, it almost feels like, oh, this is uncomfortable, but maybe it's showing me something I'm not very good at. You know, maybe they went out with their friends and I picked a fight because I'm jealous about something that I think is, I've got this portrayal of what's going on, whatever. I went out with my friends and they said, hey, have the best night, babe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Everyone I've been with so far is, when I go out with my friends, they get super jealous.
Yeah.
And that always makes me feel like I've got something to resist.
Yes. Yes.
But now I just went out and they said, have the best night. By the way, you look gorgeous. And I'm like, okay, what's that? Well, that's a new move. What's that one? You know, and you learn something and that you pay attention because you go, that was really interesting. That made me, my God, that made me when I was out, think about them half the time, you know, and think what a sexy, confident person they are.
Yeah.
I want to make her feel that when she next goes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that apparently that's how you do that. Oh, that's interesting. And you learn from it. So I think that there's a learning that we get from relationships, but in order to do that, you actually have to be in a space of being willing to put eyes on yourself.
Yeah.
And in a constant student mindset. which most of us are not. You know, we do go into relationships, a lot of us, thinking we know it all. We learned it all from our last relationship. But it's a cliche, but there's always another level. There are so many levels to life, and it fascinates me because I'm always thinking that. I'm just thinking, my God, there are so many people that are so good at so many different things. Like, I'm not saying everyone's better than us. They might be good at this one piece of the puzzle, but you watch how they do it and you go, that's really interesting. There's something to learn from that. But if we're constantly trying to defend our own position and trying to feel like what we do is the right way, we'll never learn that.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer in therapy, or anything that gets you to look at yourself in a constructive way, and someone in front of you who's not going to give you the answers that you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember a long time ago, me saying to a friend, like, I was in this relationship and I was like, you know, this person wants to speak a lot, and I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. And I was expecting him to be like, well, she sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, she sounds really difficult, man. Like, tell me about it. And instead he went, I'm kind of with her on this one.
Yeah.
Like, actually, it's super important that he was like, he actually said to me something funny. He goes, I go to the gym 1/10 of the time you do, but I have a body like a bag of milk. He said, so you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You know, and in your relationship, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You know, if you want it to be great, invest in it. And that's that friend or that mentor or that therapist.
Don't ever see them again.
Fire them immediately. They're worth their weight in gold because we surround ourselves with, you know, people, you know, men surround themselves with the boys club. Mm-hmm. Oh man, she sounds different. Oh, you know, that's so high maintenance, blah, blah, blah. And women surround themselves with their friends who sit around and say, I can't believe he did. I can't believe he said that to you. I can't. And half of them sometimes are sitting there going, you kind of seem like the unreasonable one here, but they don't tell her.
Yeah.
And then she gets further ingrained in this way of thinking. In fact, they even may amp her up.
Yeah. And
send her back into a relationship charged now and even more defiant. And now, you know, you get even more conflict. So those to me are some of the key ways to learn and just to be open. Always be open.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I think it's so true. And I love what you said about how, like, it's not like you're going to meet the mentor in your partner or the coach or the guru, but like they may be just better at one thing, or they may be great at just one area of a relationship, and that's what you're kind of mining and picking from. When I look back at what you're saying in my relationship, I'm trying to reflect it. In my teens, I realized I had a serious issue with, I just loved being loved. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind. I identify with so much of what you said. I was always kind. I was always a gentleman. I was always like generous. But I realized that in my teens, I would go above and beyond to want someone to fall in love with me. And that's all I wanted. All I actually wanted was for someone to fall in love with me. And it didn't actually matter who it was sometimes. Like, it wasn't even that I really liked them or knew them or understood them. I just wanted that feeling of, this person loves me. And what would often happen is they would fall in love with me because I would be the perfect guy by giving them gifts and remembering this and whatever it was. And then I would feel like they're not giving me anything back. Now I feel like I'm the one who's doing all the loving and there's no love back, which I've only created myself because of my crazy cycle.
Totally relate to all of that. And I was that guy too. And those guys will often look at guys who are kind of the textbook jerk.
Yeah.
And be like, what? He's awful.
Yes.
Like, you know, he slept with her and he completely ghosted her and he never called her again, or he disrespected, whatever. It's easy to point to that guy and be like, what a piece of crap that guy is. But we're more dangerous.
Yeah. I would then break up with them because I didn't feel loved. And then I'd feel like I was the victim and that I'd been the one not treated well. And then my wife broke me because I did the same thing with her. I was always like, but she wasn't impressed by any of the ways I tried to love her, apart from being me. And that was when it all kind of like unraveled. And I was like, oh, I finally found someone who actually didn't want all the stuff I was trying to do to get her to love me. And so my wife was the kind of person who broke through that barrier because she just didn't care about the stuff or the memory or the gifting or the extravagant. Like, she hated all that stuff. And so all of a sudden my technique it wasn't even a technique. It was genuine in my delusion, but it wasn't working anymore.
Right.
And that's when I had to really look at it, because I really loved my wife. And I was like, oh, I actually have to really look at this. And so she was the one who broke that and taught me that idea.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So it took someone who valued something completely different than the thing the weapon you were used to using, right?
Exactly. The move that I was
like took away all of your special moves.
Yeah. All the power was gone.
You have to fight this fight now with none of these special moves.
Yeah.
And then you're all of a sudden, like you say, it's like being stripped bare.
Yeah.
Now I get a chance to truly be loved for who I am.
Yeah.
Not the performance that I'm doing in the beginning, which, as you say, it's not that it's not genuine.
It wasn't like I was it wasn't manipulative.
It's genuinely about getting something for ourselves.